Hello, my name is Dave Cranage, Operation Field Sales Engineer for Sage X3. Today we are going to review the quote to cash overview demonstration. Before I get to the demo, though, I do want to point out a couple things. Through training and through other demonstrations you've probably seen, you've probably come to realize that Sage X3 is a cost-effective end-to-end ERP solution that brings together all an organization's business operations. It brings them together under one enterprise management solution, one database. In essence, no more disparate systems or islands of information. We're combining as many and all of those solutions that a customer may have into X3. It's also important to remember that X3 manages and tracks all the business transactions that we're going to see as we go through the quote to cash process. It's going to provide visibility, transparency, and accountability through proactive management of risk parameters and compliance requirements. And the important thing there is it's doing this all while maintaining data security and strict governance over user system access. I'm going to log in using our ERP US login, and as you've seen in other demonstrations, it's important to understand that this role, this user, and the role they belong to or the group they belong to dictates what shows up on my home screen, just like you've seen in other demonstrations. So in the upper left-hand corner, you're seeing my assigned or group or role-specific landing pages. Down below, you're seeing my personal landing pages, the ones I've created using gadgets available to me through my permissions. And then also through any of the different landing pages, you're also seeing the different tabs that make different elements available to me. So today, what I'm going to do is I've created a little my landing page for our quote to cash process. And so let's just take a quick look at this visual process map. What I want to do today, this really sort of encapsulates it all. I am going to start with a quote, talk a little bit about some of the features and functionality within quoting, drive that into a sales order, probably produce an acknowledgement, turn around and create a pick ticket for that sales order. We'll actually pick it, we'll pack it, and then we'll deliver it to the customer, we'll ship it. And then once we've shipped it, we'll go in, create a sales invoice for that order, turn around, create a payment. And then what I'll do is I want to circle back to the quote and talk a little bit about what we call journal traceability and some of the cool things around that. And then sort of I'll sum up what we went through, and that'll be the demonstration for today. So to start off, let's go ahead and pop into a quote. So again, using this custom visual process map that I created for this purpose, let's drill into the quote. And it's, remember that the way that Sage is designed, the way that X3 is designed is, during the overview demo, we talked about common data, and we talked about how setting up that common data across the enterprise allows us to set the data up once but use it many times. Well, common data is also critical when it comes to doing transactions, obviously, and X3's configuration provides what I call referenceability between key common data master tables, so customer, product, pricing, etc. And it's that referenceability that allows it to create pricing dynamically, pull in products and other requirements and notes and such from the customer table, know what site that the particular product is shipping from, and so forth. Referenceability also reduces the amount of time it takes to complete the different business transactions that we're going to go through today. And it also ensures accurate information that otherwise would create costly errors, right? So we're reducing the number of errors that may occur because of that referenceability. So let's go ahead and I'm going to create a new quote. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I just created a new tab. So let's create a new quote. My default site comes in for me. My customer today is, we're going to use NA06 Cisco Supply, and this is where referenceability starts getting applied when it comes to the sales quote and other transactions. It's now going out and it's starting to reference, hey, does this customer exist? Hey, does this customer have a credit limit? Does this customer have invoice elements I need to pull in, and so on and so forth. It also allows me to make a reference back to any products that are associated to the customer. So here you'll notice I kept it clean and just threw one product in this customer relationship. But the idea is that it makes it easier, and the system also uses their product IDs, their product descriptions along with ours, so that we have a visible connection between what the customer might be talking about and what we're seeing. So I tab over, and we're buying the jalapeno dip. I'm going to buy, let's say, 15 cases of it. The system's going out, and it's finding the price is $17. If I go and drill down into the price explanation, the system is telling me that the reason is because it's product related to the customer, and so the pricing is being driven by that. I also have the ability from here to use my action card and view other key pieces of information, everything from how that price was calculated. I can add additional text on a line-by-line basis, that price explanation like we just saw, and of course, other options as well. So let's go ahead and actually create that order. I'm sorry, quote. And now we have that quote in the system, and I realized I want to change my quantity. I actually wanted 16, not 15. I got fat fingers. So the system says, hey, wait a minute. You're in a workflow or a signature management or an approval process, and you're now going to modify a quote that may need to be signed. So I say, yeah, okay, no worries. And then it also says, hey, do you want to make a revision? And so I say, yeah, I do. I want to track the different changes that might occur on this, and I'll go ahead and put 16 in there. And also, it's now, again, through referenceability, going out there and saying, hey, I should really update this price. Maybe I didn't just update it by 1, maybe I updated by 100. So I say, yeah, please go out and look at the refresh the price. So let's go ahead and save that. And then it's canceling all prior signatures that might be required. So as that's all going on, multiple emails are going out through the workflow process, the signature management process. If you come, in my case, I'm actually, just to keep the demo flowing, I'm going to approve my own signature here. So here is the notification. Some of you may have seen on my homepage that there was a notification grid that was giving me updates. This is going to appear there as well. But let's go ahead and validate that quote. I have just gotten my own approval. So let's go ahead and now let's produce a quote letter. And this one I'm going to email directly to the customer. But before I do that, the system is going to allow me to just, to whatever degree that we determine, it's going to allow me to personalize that email that gets sent off to the customer. So I'm just going to let it think for a second here. It's just getting warmed up, so it's taking a second. And there's my email. In this case, I'll just take that out. I'll say Dave Cranage and hit OK. So what's just happened is the system has created that quote letter. I could have viewed it on the screen. I could have also just printed out in my laser printer or inkjet printer, but it actually just sent an email. So if we, let me get rid of this. Let's hop over to my email and hit refresh. And the system says, hey, there's your quote letter. Here's a couple other emails that were sent out around the approval process. But let's drill into that quote email. There's our quote letter. I double click on it. And let's shut some of these down here. And you can see, let's go one full page, maybe a little small. there's our quote letter for the 16 cases. And if we go ahead and hop out of here, hop out of the email, and let's go back to our quote. The other thing I just want to quickly, before we head out of here, point out is the revision management, right? So maybe the customer called me back 2 or 3 times, had a couple different quantities. Maybe I want to add another, product and so forth. So it's showing me the revision tracking and what ended up happening. So you'll see down here I changed it to 16. So let's go ahead and pop out of here. And so that's kind of an introduction to what we call the workflow processes, and you'll see those throughout the day. They help manage the approval of everything, right? From changing of a price to an order to the quote like we just saw. It can be other notifications and acknowledgments to internal or external customers regarding anything, right? Shipments, tracking numbers, invoices, you name it. So now let's go ahead into sales order. And in the sales order, I'm actually going to start off by just creating a brand new order. And there's a lot of different ways orders can be created, through our e-commerce solution, through an import. I also could have been in my quote and maybe talking to the customer on the phone and pushed that quote into an order, driven from the quote into an order. In this case, I'm going to do what I call a pull. So I'm talking to the customer now as a CSR perhaps, and they give me the heads up that they want to place an order. I'm placing the order. Boom, I get a customer note display on my screen. Now this is driven from, again, that interrelationship that exists. So the system says, hey, I know this customer has a customer note. The customer note is supposed to pop up on the order. And so, boom, there it is. Just something fairly generic, but it could be important to the process. Ask them for their FedEx number. Do they pay with credit card? Call Bob to make sure it's okay. Whatever it may be, that notification is really just to give us the heads up. So now we're starting down our sales order process. I've got my customer assigned. Data's flowed in. I want to go down to my left list drawer, quote selection, and sure enough, there is our jalapeno bean dip, right? So if we scroll over a little bit, you'll see that's for the 16 cases. That's the right one. Let's grab it. And it pulls it right in. So that's what I mean by pull versus push. If I was in the quote and I created the order from there, that's pushing it into the order. Here I'm pulling that quote in. So it's bringing in all that information. As a side note, before I forget to mention this, we're doing a brand new sales order, but X3 actually also supports contracts, right? What we call open orders. And the terms and clauses associated with each unique customer negotiation. So the contracts would include terms and conditions, validity dates. Starting when does this contract start and stop? Specific products, pricing associated with those products based on whatever volume it might be, and as well as any shipping and/or delivery details. So I'm building one from scratch, but there also can be an open order or AKA a contract. So there's our 16 items. The other thing that's important to point out here is if we scroll up to the top, we have our pay by group customer. So we're getting all that information. That relational information is flowing in. It's signed, so we're getting all of our different statuses as well. One of the things that I like to point out is that given the permission, somebody can come in here and put somebody on hold. In fact, let's go ahead and save our sales order. And once I save my sales order, you'll see I have the ability to put somebody on hold. Not only can I put it on hold, and maybe it's permission-based and I'm the customer service rep, I can also have different reasons why they're put on hold, and those reasons can dictate, what can happen, allocations made, and so forth. Let's not actually put it on hold just to keep moving along here. Again, referenceability, it's pulling in my preferred delivery method, my preferred vendor. It would pull in any of those invoice elements. But I wanted to scroll down to the lines. You'll notice right away that we're employing what we call conditional formatting. That's based on our available stock. So if I come over here a little bit to a little bit further to quantity to allocate, the system's telling me, hey, we have plenty in stock for this, and that's why the product ID is green. The rules are pretty simple. The logic is pretty simple behind this for the conditional formatting. If we have enough in stock, make it green. If we do not have enough in stock, make it yellow. But it can be whatever color you want. I just happen to use those two colors. The other thing that's important to understand is that at the line item detail, we have, just like we did on the quote, a lot of additional items under our action card. So first and foremost, we can pop back to that quote, even though we didn't push in from the quote. We also have the ability to look at that price explanation here. So maybe we again modify the line item, and again a new price is calculated. We can see that as well. We will access the allocation detail. I'll talk about that in a second. And then we also have the ability to look at line status and where this line is in the business processes. If I scroll over to the quantity to allocate, you'll notice it also has an action card, and within that action card is a very refined list that's specific to the stock and the allocation. So right from here, we can see how much stock is available at the particular site. Again, we got a lot on sales orders, but we also have a lot in stock, so things are good there. And then also from here, we have the ability to look at the allocation detail. And then here you can see that it's a global allocation. So what does that mean? Global allocation refers to reserve stock at a site level, right? So we're picking out 16 cases, but we're not specifically calling out a lot or a specific stock line. Where a detailed allocation, when we finally do make that allocation at a detailed level, we're doing it at that stock line level. We'll call out the specific lot and so forth. So just to give you a little background there. And then let's go ahead now and produce our order acknowledgement. So I'm going to come over to print record, and I'm going to do sales order acknowledgement. And again, I'm going to send an email off to the customer. In this particular case, though, I'm not actually going to, I don't necessarily have to change that email, right? So again, it pops up, I say okay, and off it goes. If we quickly switch back over to my Outlook and do a quick send receive, there's our order confirmation. And again, there's the PDF tied to it. So we're getting that through what's called a workflow. Workflows can be very simple, where I'm simply sending emails, attachments, notifications about certain events that take place, or they can be more dynamic, where they are actually using complex rules and logic to drive events that occur within the system. In this case, this is just a simple notification with an attached order acknowledgement to it. Still very, very powerful. But very straightforward. Okay, so now we're back in our sales order, and you've seen me duck in and duck out and go to my visual process map. We talked a little bit about pushing and pulling. Well, maybe I'm a customer service rep and I'm responsible for generating the pick ticket. So right from the sales order itself, I can go to what we call preparation or pick ticket. You can actually use our translation tool to change the term if you'd rather have it say pick ticket. You'll notice right away that it's actually created the pick ticket for me. You'll see it's given it a number. Let's go to the picker and let's assign it to this guy, Dave Kranich. And then we're going to tell him where to pick it and bring it to. So we'll have him pick it and bring it to floor location floor 02. And I'm going to feed that into the individual picking lines, and you can see here that we've already brought forward the order information for the jalapeno dip. If I scroll out here, we need to get 16 cases. Right, and if we keep scrolling, it now has a detailed allocation type. So it's telling it to pick from a very specific lot, from a very specific location, right? from Stowe 01, etc. So now we've got our pick ticket sort of queued up. I'm going to go ahead and save that. And it's important to point out that besides sort of the standard flow of that quote to cash, the obvious order, the obvious quote, the order, the invoice, the payment, X3 has a very powerful warehouse and fulfillment element to it, and it's tightly integrated, providing the customer service rep, the picker's management, the warehouse management with real-time views to what's going on, and any modifications that occur to the customer order are available and visible in real time, ensuring that any changes to that order and its requirements are reflected in the final delivered product. So it's important to understand that it's not just a step in a fairly straightforward business process. There's a lot going on, and I know that another video that will be coming along is one regarding warehouse management and some of the value behind that. So very, very powerful. We support directed putaways as well as directed picking. So a lot of very, very powerful stuff from a warehouse management perspective and a fulfillment perspective. So let's go ahead and print the pick ticket. So let's print that to the screen. There's the pick ticket. And actually, I wanted to print another one, so we're going to print two. Here is a very basic pick ticket. And let's go ahead and try that one more time so I get the exact one I'm looking for. This one here, because I grabbed this one because it actually has the scannable barcodes on it. So let's print that to the screen so you can see this. So we do also support barcodes, and we do support, handhelds. Oh, that's not what we wanted. Come on, David, one more time here. Sorry about that. So let's go ahead and say I want to reprint the ticket and print. There we go. So barcodes, handheld devices, the ability to be walking down the aisle, gunning those items and verifying that those items are the ones that we're picking off the shelves and so forth. So a nice clean pick ticket. You've seen a couple now, so that's kind of cool. And the last thing kind of that we're going to take care of here is we're going to notify that the pick is complete, right? So I was assigned to me, the pick ticket was printed. The pick ticket could have been printed automatically out in the warehouse. I could have grabbed it off of the printer, or it could have been set up for me to go grab out of my zone. I picked it all, I brought it back, and now I'm going to mark it deliverable. And I'm also, at this time, going to pack it up. So let's go to packing. And you'll notice right away the system says, hey, you're going to pack 16 cases. Well, those cases, again, through referenceability, those 16 cases fit exactly on a pallet, right? So here's my pallet. I'm going to skip printing the label, but let's go ahead and say, yep, that's all packed up. Now I got a package ID, right, a package number. I know exactly what the SSCC code is, what the package weight is, and so forth, along with the tear weight. So we come back into our pick ticket, do a quick refresh, and you can see here's our packing completed. Our number of packages is 1, and we're good to go. So I'm actually going to close out of the pick ticket. It's been the pick ticket's been generated. We kind of flashed forward and had somebody go pick it out of the warehouse at the specific lot location, etc. We turned around and after they did that with the pick ticket we printed, we turned around, we got the stuff, we took it, we put it into maybe a pallet and wrapped the pallet, and now that pallet is ready to go. It's all packed and it's deliverable. So let's go back to our visual process map, and you can slowly see, kind of follow the bouncing ball, that we're now here at customer delivery. So a couple days, maybe have gone by, and so now we're getting ready to deliver the shipment to the customer. So we come in, I'm the shipping guy, and I go ahead and say I want to do a new shipment. And the shipment that I'm doing is for NA006, or our friends at Cisco Supply, right? The default address is coming in again from the customer site. But before, just like we did in the past, where we picked the quote out of the left list drawers, I can do the same thing to drive that information into my delivery. So in this particular case, you'll notice I go into my pick ticket selection drawer, and sure enough, there is the pick ticket that we were working with. And if I go ahead and select it, it brings in my jalapeno dip. If I'm doing a partial shipment, I would modify the delivered quantity to the amount that I was shipping out. In this case, we're going to ship it all out the door. A couple key things, right? The shipment date, the default delivery lead time. I can override these if I need to. The other thing that's important to understand is if we scroll out, right, we're getting the detail on the lot, right? So we know what lot is shipping out. We get a little dimensional accounting information. And then the other thing to point out is to go back to that action card and just, again, know that I can pop to the order, I can pop to the pick ticket, I can put packing slip text on the line item. In addition, referenceability is pulling in any packing slip text specific to the shipment, the customer shipment address, so that's coming in automatically, but if I needed to, I could add additional packing slip text here as well. So let's go ahead and save that delivery. And let's go ahead and scroll down a little bit here, because I did want to point out that, again, it's pulling in our route number, delivery mode, our carrier, and so forth. And you'll also notice, again, because of our ability to through APIs, out-of-the-box APIs, talk directly to FedEx, or because we've built in to the vendor, the carrier, their pricing engine, built a pricing engine for them within X3, we're actually calculating that freight charge. So finally, invoice elements are coming through for us, and we see that there's $118. We have the net weight and the gross weight, so we added the tare weight to get to that, and then the system was able to either go out through the API and get direct pricing from FedEx, or utilizing an already existing pricing table built within the dynamic pricing tool for the carrier, calculated it here as well. You can also define my departure and arrival dates, so those are defaulted, and these can actually drive information to calendars. So you've seen calendars pop up on different landing pages throughout different demos, I'm sure. Those calendars can be driven by dates, and those dates can be picked up by things like the departure and arrival dates. So let's go ahead and print our packing slip. So here's our packing slip. And again, all these documents that you're seeing me print, many of them can print automatically out at your desk, automatically in the shipping department, automatically in the warehouse, wherever it may be. A lot of the transactions that you're also seeing, like the picking ticket definition and the shipments, those all can be also automated and put on a batch process. So new shipments are being generated automatically, new picking tickets are being generated automatically. So in this particular case, let's print this packing slip to the screen, and then it's going to go right in, probably under the shrink wrap on the skid, right? So there's our packing. We have one skid that's 219 pounds, but we also might need to produce a bill of lading. So from here, what I want to do is I'm, again, kind of going in, into the transaction, out to the process map, or in this case, I'm going to use bill of lading here within my right panel to create a bill of lading for this shipment. And so the system, again, very similar to the way we created the pick ticket, is now driving me over to the bill of lading. It's created a bill of lading for me. It's got my reference shipment document. It will produce the bill of lading number for me automatically. using a sequence number. Sequence numbers, for those of you who have not come across them yet, are templates that have logic built behind them to define what a number is going to look like. And that could be anything from a quote or an order or an invoice number to a product number to a bill of lading number. Again, it's pulling all that information in for me. I'm going to go ahead and throw a pro number in here that I've just written down, so we can see that on the sorry it's so long, but they are. I have my freight class. I can squeeze out, enlarge my column there. I have my package, number of packages, my gross and net weight, tear weight, and then I actually can come over here and say contains spicy dip, right? Something like that. And then if I scroll down a little bit more, my shipping code, again, it's coming in based on NA021. Maybe I throw in Bob Smith as good old Bob as my shipping contact, and I go ahead and say create. And then if we go ahead and run the bill of lading, pop that to the screen for you guys to take a look at, you'll see that information that partly came through the shipment, partly came through my input, has now created that bill of lading for us. The other thing that you can add that I did not pop into, just as a way to shave off some time, is some additional text for the header and the footer. And so you do have that ability. You also have the ability to add some additional line text as well. So there's our bill of lading. So now we've got our shipment. We associated our packing slip with our shipment, and now we have our bill of lading. So let's go back to our visual process map, and we're making great progress. And so now the next step, we've shipped it off to the customer. Customer's happy. He got the shipment. If we pop over, can't remember off the top of my head. Let's go ahead and see here. Yeah, let's see. No, you do have the ability to have a shipping confirmation go out. In this particular case, I didn't have it set up as a workflow, but you do have the ability to have that pop out. We can send notification to the carrier to come get it. We can send notification to the customer that the shipment has been staged and scheduled to go out. And of course, when that shipment goes out, we can send them the pro number and or a tracking number, whichever may be most applicable given the shipment carrier that you used, whether it's like UPS or FedEx Freight or some other freight company doing LTL. So let's pop into our sales invoice. So we're moving right along, and one of the reoccurring themes is either the ability to push transactions or to pull transactions. So because we've gone through this process and throughout the whole demonstration, you've seen how seamlessly integrated the different business processes are. Well, this guarantees that accurate billing will occur, as well as we're building what we call that journal traceability of all the related business transactions. And so that gives everybody, again, based on permission, visibility to all the different transactions, as well as any charges that may have been incurred. And if you guys recall, let's go ahead and create a new invoice. And my bill to customer is Cisco. I'll throw that in that way just so you guys can see. You can also type in the name of the customer. And if I scroll down a tiny bit, actually, before I scroll down a tiny bit, I'm going to pop over to my delivery selection. And just like we've seen, operator error. Hold on, guys. Let me back up a little bit because I did not actually send the shipment. I need to validate that that shipment went out the door, right? So there are checks and balances that say, hey, this may have gone out the door, but from the system's perspective, we need that final verification that yes, everything looks good, and boom, that shipment is gone, and we have told the system that we're good to go. So here you can see I can push into the invoice. Let's just quickly go back to our sales invoice. We'll do a new sales invoice. We're going to, again, type in Cisco, and then you see I have enterprise-wide visibility, my Cisco in Great Britain. But now if we come to delivery, you'll see that there's the shipment, right, to Cisco. So we grab the shipment, and what I was hoping to point out to you guys, which I can now, is there's the $118 for freight. So again, as charges are incurred, we apply those charges, and they're accumulated along the process. And we didn't have any at order entry time, but when we got to the shipment, we picked up $118 in freight. And so the other thing that I want to point out here quickly is that Sage X3 recognizes revenue, cost, and receivables upon shipment, and then it clears it from the clearing accounts upon invoicing, right? So as soon as we create the invoice and then post it, and that makes revenue recognition simple and straightforward. Now, there can be other things that complicate or make it more tricky than that, but in a straight sales environment, straight quote to cash environment, it's pretty straightforward with X3. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and create our invoice. Again, referenceability is pulling everything like the terms and my sales rep, his associated commission, and so forth. Let's go ahead and post that transaction. If I had printed my invoice beforehand, it would have let me know that that it was a unposted copy. If I now print it, let's print it to the screen here. And yes, you can email it as you saw with the acknowledgement and the quote. You absolutely can email it directly to the customer. In this particular case, let's just throw it to the screen. So here you can see we're just printing this one invoice out. I could have done a range of invoices. Up on the screen pops the invoice, and there you go. There's the $272 for the 16 cases of jalapeno dip. But if we scroll down a little bit further, we're picking up our $118 of freight for a total of $390. This customer is set to be non-taxable, so there's no tax being applied. If we had printed another, If we had printed another invoice, then it would have said duplicate. And so let's just go back there one more time. And the other thing that, again, is important to point out, if I scroll down, action cards are hugely important. But as you can see, as I move from one transaction to the next, those action card options all change. So again, the ability to pop back to my delivery, again, ability to look at that sales journal traceability, and again, some prepayment apportionments. Are there any prepayments out there that we want to be aware of and grab? But so we've got our invoice shipped out the door. The customer's happy. The invoice is headed out, and now maybe the customer is prepared to pay us. So again, flash forward in time, we're gonna jump from here into the payment. The customer is paying us by check. We're going to I never remember the bank, so let's go. It's our NA2 U.S. Process Bank. Today's date, they're going to pay the full amount. Let's put in a check number. So let's use today's date, 12/01/20-015. And because of the way I've set my parameters in the system that it wants me, it's required that I put a branch in there. So I'm just going to put TD Bank branch 1. And I go ahead and hit OK, and the payment has been created, and I'm good to go. So if we pop out of here, what I want to do now is I want to kind of go for dramatic purposes all the way back to the quote, which is where we started this process. And I want to point out that throughout the whole process, the system has been keeping track of those different transactions, and um, and providing us with the ability at any point during that process, we could have gone in and checked on what we call journal traceability. And journal traceability is kind of the accounting side of, you know, uh, the safety, integrity of the sales transactions and the journal entries. And the key thing is it provides me instant and quick journal access to the related transactions, or access to the related transactions, I should say. So if I go on in there, I can look at it from a forward or backward perspective, starting at any given at the specified entry point that I determine. But if I go ahead and stretch this out a little bit here, you'll see that what we've done, from the very beginning, is we've actually recorded all those different business transactions, and we have the visibility into things like the different statuses, the date timestamps, and so forth. And from any one of these different areas, I have the ability to jump into the specific pick ticket or get an upstream or downstream traceability visual from that point in time. And so it's really important to understand that not just from an ease of use and a user-friendliness kind of perspective, the system is keeping track of those transactions behind the scenes so that we have that traceability, so that we have that auditability, right? We can go back to those transactions at any time, is based on how far we've gotten in the process, and make reference to them, and that's very powerful. So we started off the demonstration talking a little bit about how the X3 system is a enterprise-wide ERP, that because we're consolidating all the different transactions that we might have been doing in QuickBooks and Excel and et cetera, maybe a smaller management system, we've consolidated those all into a single enterprise solution. We've controlled access to the data within the system and the transactions that can be done. We talked about how permission roles dictate the look and feel of my experience with X3. We talked about how we can have custom landing pages that are particularly defined by me, by the user, and we actually called upon one I created called Quote to Cash to go through that simple process of generating a quote and following it all the way through the steps necessary to get the product in the customer's hands, get them the invoice so that we can get paid by them. And really, because of the flow of information and the ability for us to move those transactions that need to be billed for into the invoice, we can get that invoice into their hands much faster, a more accurate invoice, and then when they get that payment to us, we can get that right into the system and get that into our bank account. So very, very smooth process. Hope you guys enjoyed the demonstration, and look forward to talking to you again in the future.